Do we have everybody? Okay. So Deacon Marilyn Smith is going to come up, one of Robert's cousins. That's a pretty cool connection. So thanks everybody for being here. We should be live streaming right now. It's rjfh.tv for those who don't know, and there's probably about a 13 to 15 second delay, but that should all be going right now. So.
Is that something that they can pick up later if they miss it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. What we'll do is the service is going to, for those who are live streaming right now, the service will be recorded as well. Mm-hmm. And then after we go through and do some edit, then it'll be posted to the funeral home's website.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay. That takes a little bit more time, but just in case if there's a connectivity issue, then people, or even if you guys want to get on later and kind of rehash what you talked about. Right. So, okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you. And welcome to those of you who are gathered here, and for those of you who are joining us either through live stream or later via a recorded service. We're glad that we're able to join in these days in whatever ways that we can, and actually blessed by this ability to have this as long distance in whatever times. So thank you to the people here and to the family for making this possible. Because it is good at the time of a death for people to gather and to give thanks and to remember, as we do for Bob today. I want to begin with a reading from the book of Sirach, and this is titled On Mourning for the Dead. My child, let your tears fall for the dead, and as one in great pain, begin the lament. Lay out the body with due ceremony, and do not neglect the burial. Let your weeping be bitter and your wailing fervent. Make your mourning worthy of the departed, for one day or two to avoid criticism. Then be comforted in your grief. When the dead is at rest, let his remembrance rest too, and be comforted for him when his spirit has departed. I invite you to join me in prayer. O God of grace and glory, we remember before you today our father, husband, brother, and friend, Bob. We thank you for giving him to us to know and to love as a companion in our pilgrimage on earth. In your boundless compassion, console us who mourn. Give us faith to see that death has been swallowed up in the promise of life that continues throughout the generations, so that we might live in confidence and hope. Amen. Another reading from the book of Sirach, and this one is on faithful friends. Faithful friends are a sturdy shelter. Whoever finds one has found a treasure. Faithful friends are beyond price. No amount can balance their worth. Faithful friends are an elixir of life, and those who fear the Lord will find them. As I read those words, I couldn't think of anyone for whom it applied more readily and more quickly than Bob. When I read that phrase, an elixir of life. For Bob was certainly that when he was a friend, and there were many who enjoyed his elixir of life, both to be a friend to him and to receive his friendship. And so now I want to invite anyone who would like to come up and share a remembrance of Bob to do so. This microphone is fine. Just speak loudly and not directly into the microphone, but you will be picked up from that. So anyone who would like to come up, please feel free to do that.
I guess it's appropriate that I go first, as I was the oldest, and I will say that I was the luckiest to have my dad all to myself for 8 years before John came along. If obviously you all know Dad, and the things that I think he defined himself most by were his friends, his work, and mostly his family. Through my whole life, I grew up hearing stories about the cottage and the good times that he had there, with just groups of people, uncles, cousins, that all came together and created incredible memories. And more than anything, I think he always wanted that for us. I could always feel with everything that he tried to do to bring us together, buying the lake house, building, the home that he has now, it was to bring us together as a family to create those same types of memories that he always had, because those were the most important things to him. So I think what I have been thinking over the last couple of days, as we've all been together in the house and we've all been going through pictures and sharing stories, that there's nothing that he would have liked more than what we've been doing over the last couple of days in remembering him and being together and playing games, and in the midst of being sad, laughing with each other. So I think he would have been very, very happy about that. And that's been really healing for me to go through all of that with you guys. So I'm very glad. I thought about trying to pick out a story that I could tell of one of the many adventures that we had together. And I couldn't settle on one thing. I've told the stories, I think, many times of all the adventures with Dad. And some of them you've shared in some of those adventures, but some of them were things that I did just with him by myself. Going to the UP and taking a driving trip, if you can imagine, through the UP with my dad, taking a boat across Lake Superior to an island filled with moose and wolves and all that other stuff. And I think that was the one I started to tell the story the other night, and it kind of goes to his character and my memories of him. Was the story, our Isle Royal story, which was getting to the island and me being afraid. I was afraid because I was told that there were wolves on this island. And Dad reassuringly told me that I was going to be fine because the wolves were only on the side of the island that the people were not on. And I had absolute faith in him because Dad was a man of integrity. He didn't lie, right? So I fully believed everything that he said. And he told me the wolves were only on the other side of the island. It was about 6 years ago that I finally realized that he had lied to me. It took that long. And it was during another conversation. And I called him up almost immediately. And I said, Dad, I just found out about the wolves. And he remembered the story, and we just laughed. We just laughed about it for a long time. And I think that's maybe a story that you guys didn't get to share in, but I think it shows what he would do to, protect all of us. And also that we just had faith in him. We just believed if he said it. So, all right, I don't want to take any more time, but I could share a million stories, and we probably will as we go on. But thank you. So.
Okay. Well, I will go and try to do this, but it's not gonna work out very well. Okay. So, I didn't really know what to say, but my mother gave me this the other day, which was a note that I wrote to my dad when I was young about the things that he used to do for me. And it was written when I was very young, and normally I'm not, pretty emotionally blocked off, but when my mom gave me this, I didn't think of anything else to do but to start to fill out more pages. So it says, my dad takes me fishing. My dad takes me for boat rides. Looks more like a whale than a boat, but it's okay. My dad takes me to my soccer games. And I ended with my dad as a nice guy. And it was so long ago, and I don't know, I just started filling some more stuff out, He taught me how to golf. He used to take me to Boy Scout camp. He taught me I can barely read. He taught me the car license plate game, as evidenced by some other postcards we found the other day about my excitement about Alaska. He took me to the roller coaster parks and Disney World. He was there. He saw me graduate from high school, from university, and from graduate school. He was there when we saw a rare leopard in the jungles of Sri Lanka. I just was picking out random stuff. He showed me the difference between a yak and a buffalo. He invited me to some of his favorite activities when I was an adult, including his golf weekend where I've become friends with his friends. My dad and I and Travis even entered into a 400-person ice fishing tournament one time. Those are just some of the things he did in person. It was all teaching and showing me stuff either directly or indirectly. He showed me the importance of knowledge and understanding of things, not just for trivia. He showed me the importance of working and living within your means and keeping to what you can do. He showed me the importance of having close friends in life and spending a lot of time with them, even if it was just hanging around and doing nothing. He showed me the importance of loyalty. He was not perfect. And many of us know. But even in that, he taught me so many things that I need to watch out for myself. Yeah. He obviously created a long-lasting legacy. I don't even know. And so much for me to learn in the future that I know that he will teach me even more as we go on. Because I will be looking back on everything he did and be learning from it throughout my life. So that's it. It's a little dramatic, but I love you, Dad, so thank you.
I'm Bob's sister, Sandy. You guys probably all know that. I just wanted to just say a couple things that I heard from other people that they wanted me to pass on. My son, Stephen, some of these people could not be here today due to geographical things and being in other places. My son, Stephen, said Bob's humor and zest for life were unparalleled. We're very fortunate that Harry, his little son, was able to meet him, and stories of his life will always be passed down. My daughter-in-law and her extended family said, "I'm so sorry to hear about Bob. He was always hilarious and welcoming to me, and I am glad to have met him and for him to be a part of my life." My son-in-law, Justin, said, "So sorry, Sandy. I really loved BZ. Sad day thinking of you all." For Marilyn's husband, cousin Bill, he didn't always agree with BZ about too much, but he did certainly love to play euchre with him. And his words to me, since I don't play euchre, but I guess those of you who know it, I think I heard a voice from above saying, "Any three, anytime," which must be a euchre term. As for myself, what I wrote on, I found my graduation picture from high school, going through the things, and what I wrote at that time in 1974 is certainly true now. I said, I am very, very lucky to have you as my brother. Love, Sandy. And my sadness today is that rather than Bob's life being concluded, it was interrupted by directly and indirectly by some of the demons that he could not conquer. Even though some of us knew he wasn't perfect, and he did have a side that made some of us sad at times, I did find something in his things that was a poem, and I found it in his things, and I will choose to always go forward remembering only the good, and there was more and more good than anything. And it said, wouldn't life be lots more happy if the good that's in all of us were the only thing about us that folks bothered to recall? And I recall nothing but funny times and happy times. I was a part of that whole cottage thing, so like Marilyn, and that was the best. I wish Kathy was, and John to some extent, but that was the best times. And Bob, thank you for everything. I'll miss you. And I'm glad I got to talk to you last week. Okay. Thank you.
I don't think I'll get through it, but I'll try. It was funny going through his things the other day, of the things that he chose to keep throughout the years. Because I didn't really know he ever kept cards. Like, he never wanted anything, didn't ever want birthday gifts or anything, Father's Day gifts, anything. But it was kind of cool to go back and see all the stuff he kept of John and Kathy when they were little. And I found a card that I gave him about 20 years ago. And it's exactly how I feel today, so I'm going to read it to you. For you, Dad, a daughter's thoughts. As I think about all the things a daughter experiences in growing up, I cannot help but feel grateful for the love and caring you have given me over the years. Raising a child must be one of the hardest jobs a man can have. But you took on that job and gave me the strength and confidence to be the woman I am today. I believe that every relationship I have today is based on the one that you and I share. You have given me the unconditional love that has made me feel invincible enough to fly, to dream, to catch stars and bring them back to you. Flying high like an acrobat, I knew you were always there to watch, encourage, smile, and be my net, just in case I needed one. What more could I want in a dad? Thank you for being my hero, my friend, and most of all, my confidant. No one can fill my life like you can, and I am proud to know that we share a golden bond that can never be broken. Words could never match all of the feelings you can give me with one glance. Thank you, Dad, for giving me a part of you and a life full of love. And I just wanted to, just some personal memories that, we talk about the glue, he'll always be with us, but some things that I'll always remember. I remember some of you might know Italo-Cock Stunod.
Oh, God.
My mom used to buy us these Entenmann's chocolate donuts, and we spelled it backwards, and that was our little, him and I would share that, like, that was our little treat. The Italo-Cock Stunod we would have on the weekends. I remember very vividly the day Pat proposed to me, and all I wanted to do was go back and share that with him and Mom, 'cause I was so excited for that moment before he walked me down the aisle, and we were both just shedding tears of joy. We had that moment together, all the golf, and I finally beat him. I beat him in golf, I don't know if it was a year ago or 2 years ago, but I was so proud. Like, we know who Bob was, and I like to challenge him because he was just stubborn. And I was so proud that day. I was like, finally beat you at something, because I couldn't beat him at anything. Watching him instill his words of wisdom to Ben and Emma has been awesome. Playing euchre with him and proving him that Hoyle's rules are not always right. Can't follow it. Sitting back and watching Pat and Bob enjoy a cigar and a drink on the deck. And I remember that whole point of challenging him when I was maybe a junior in high school. The softball team was having a get-together at Arbutus Lake overnight. And of course, he was like all over it. He was like, nope, you're not going. I need to talk to those parents. And we were trying to pull one over on him. We weren't really going to anyone's house. But my friend had her grandma call Bob and say, yep, they're coming over for so-and-so's party. We'll be here watching them. And I was like, I remember after that, I'm like, I got one over you. Like, I finally was able to put one past you, because you couldn't get past anything with him. But above all, we really enjoyed thunderstorms. We used to sit outside any chance we got, sit underneath the rain. It could be thundering, lightning, whatever. In these past few years, we would always share texts or share pictures or videos of the storms coming in and reach out to each other. So I know that every time the thunder rolls, I know how he's looking down at us. And I'll really miss him. I love you.
I'm up here and I'm sure you're all wondering what I'm about ready to say, but I have a poem that I would like to read that says, when I am gone, when I come to the end of my journey and I travel my last weary mile, just forget if you can that I ever frowned, and remember only the smile. Forget unkind words I have spoken. Remember some good I have done. Forget I have ever had heartache, and remember I have had loads of fun. Forget that I have stumbled and blundered, and sometimes fell by the way. Remember I have fought some hard battles, and won ere the close of the day. Then forget to grieve for my going. I would not have you sad for a day. But in summer just gather some flowers and remember the place where I lay. And come in the shade of the evening, when the sun paints the sky in the west, stand for a few moments beside me and remember only the best. As the oldest stepchild, I was an adult when my mom and Bob got together. But for the last 27 years, he has been more of a father to me than my own father had been my entire life. We didn't always see eye to eye. We had a lot of battles. But I had a lot of respect for Bob, and he will be missed. And for most things. You know, he provided for my mom and provided for my younger siblings, and I'll always be thankful for that. And I'll always be thankful, even though him and I still probably clashed. Was fortunate to see him a week and a half ago and spend some time with him, and he made me dinner, and we laughed, and I was actually able to see the vice presidential debates with him, which was an experience I'll never forget. But Bob was a good man, and I will sit here from this day forward and concentrate on the best. So, thanks.
I first of all just want to thank all of you for including me in your family and your celebrations and now your grieving. And I came into Bob's life when he was 19 years old, just a very young man. Didn't know he was that young because I was 2.5 years older than him. And we were talking about a presidential election coming up, and he said, we had gone together a little while by then. He said, well, I'm not going to be able to vote. And it's like, what? Because at that time I was 21 and he was only 19. So that was a big shock. And I think that he was afraid, that was going to be the end of that because he was so young. But that didn't happen. Anyways. I was fortunate to share some of the cottage laughs and jokes, and certainly there was a good time there. And I fell in love with his family as much as I fell in love with him. And when it came time for our parting, I was so grateful that the rest of his family loved me and wanted me to be part of that. And I pray that going forward, the very glue that he was will hold all of us together through whatever comes for the future for us, and that we take those best parts of him, and there were many, and keep those in our hearts and make them part of our striving of who we can be. The loving parts, the taking care of your family, I don't know about the rest of you, but I always knew, even though we had been divorced for years and years, if I needed something, I could have called him in a moment, and he would have been there for me too. And to that end, I don't know if I'm going to be the last one to talk, but this is a Scottish poem. I just shared with David that I had found this, but it's called The Parting Glass. And if there was anything about Bob that was true his whole life, his joy was getting together with friends. And we might not all have approved of his choices in life, but it was drinking too much and smoking too much. But nothing seemed to give him more joy than that. And hosting, he was the ultimate host. And I think, Pam, you're a marvelous hostess, and I think that's why you were so good for him for that reason. You could be host and hostess together. And because of that and that joy he found from being with friends, The Parting Glass kind of covers some things for me, so I'm just going to read this little poem. It's actually a song, but I'm not going to sing it. You'll be blessed by that. Of all the money that e'er I had, I spent it in good company. And all the harm I've ever done, alas, it was to none but me. And all I've done for want of wit, to memory now I can't recall. So fill to me the parting glass, good night and joy be to you all. So fill to me the parting glass, and drink a health where befall, and gentle rise and softly call, good night and joy be to you all. Of all the comrades that I had, they're sorry for my going away, and all the sweethearts that e'er I had, they'd wish me one more day to stay. But still it falls into my lot that I should rise and you should not.
I gently rise and softly call. Good night, and joy be to you all. Good night, and joy be to you all.
Thank you all. I know Bob would be thrilled at all the poetry that he has elicited from all of you over the last few minutes. I know that because one of my earliest memories, and since you all know how old Bob is, I have to say he's 3 years older than I am. I just want to make that clear. One of my earliest memories, and I think he was about 7 and I was about 4, and I had been given an autograph book. Those of you who are old enough will remember we had little books that we collected people's I think we were supposed to collect famous people's autographs, but I went around and asked people to sign autographs, and so Bob kept mine for a day and wouldn't give it back to me, and of course I was angry about that. And I should say we lived in 2 different states at that point. And so I was in Detroit for a visit, and I was quite angry with him that he'd kept my autograph book. And then when he gave it back to me, what he had written there, and the book has disappeared many decades ago, but this is the only thing I remember that was ever written in that book. He wrote, "I have a cousin sweet and dear. I have been waiting all day, and finally she is here." And so I've carried that in my heart all these years. And how typical of Bob to elicit poetry when he was himself a poet at heart. And clearly the elixir of life has been shared and drunk deeply, both with Bob and now going forward for Bob. And so I think I appreciate first of all, I appreciate the opportunity that the family has given to me to gather us all around these memories. And then all of the memories that you have shared. And to remind you, we've begun that a little bit with some of the laughter that we've heard. That there is a time for our mourning, but now going forward, there's the time for healing and a time for laughter as well. And we should not short ourselves on that. And so a reading from the book of Ecclesiastes. For everything there is a season, and a time to every matter under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. I know that there is nothing better for them than to be happy and enjoy themselves as long as they live. And I think we certainly can say that Bob was granted that wonderful grace of that life that was to be happy and to enjoy himself, and that is clearly what he would want for us. I invite you to pray. O Lord, support us all the days of this life until the shadows lengthen and the evening comes and the busy world is hushed. The fever of life is over and our work is done. Then in your mercy, grant us a safe lodging and a holy rest. Heal the broken in heart and bind up the wounds of the afflicted. Give us strength where we are weak, calm our troubled spirits, and dispel our fears with the hope that awaits in the promise of new life. Amen. And now we leave one another with the blessings. The Lord bless us and keep us. The Lord's face shine on us with grace and mercy. The Lord's face look upon us with favor and give us peace. Rest eternal grant to Bob, O Lord, and let light perpetual shine upon him throughout all eternity. Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Are there directions that we need?